Border officer's secret in Arizona: he was undocumented. Read a limited-run newsletter about life where the United States and Mexico meet. In your inbox. Marco A. de la Garza Jr. spent nearly 6 years as a federal officer with Customs and Border Protection, working on the front lines of America's southern border in Arizona and doing his best to keep undocumented immigrants out of the United States. A Navy veteran, he was known for going the extra mile one day. While off duty, he rushed out of a barbecue at his in-laws' house in Sierra Vista, Arizona, when he spotted an undocumented man being chased by the Border Patrol. He tackled the runner. Few knew Mr. de la Garza's secret: he was undocumented, too. The nation's main border protection agency had hired an unauthorized immigrant to police the border. One of at least 4 cases of undocumented workers revealed to be working at federal immigration agencies in recent years. Mr. de la Garza, 38, was born in Mexico, and had lied about his citizenship status and supplied his employer with a fraudulent Texas birth certificate that falsely said he was born in Brownsville, Texas. In retrospect, I fully understand now that I was being selfish in my desire to serve my country that I had so loved, he wrote after he was indicted by a federal grand jury on 3 counts of passport fraud and making false statements on his application for a federal law enforcement background check. Mr. de la Garza agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of passport fraud, and the other 2 counts were dropped. On Thursday, before the brief hearing, Mr. de la Garza was surrounded by friends and relatives, including his 2 daughters, aged 2 and 4, who are United States citizens. He stood quietly. The Trump administration has pushed employers to stop hiring undocumented workers, urging the use of electronic verification tools and document checks, and conducting hundreds of workplace raids to arrest and deport unauthorized immigrants. The fact that federal authorities also must field a workforce that by design reflects the heavily Hispanic communities across the Southwest they are expected to police. Agents sometimes. Mr. de la Garza's deception was unusual for Customs and Border Protection, the largest law enforcement agency in the country, with nearly twice the staff of the FBI. Yet it was not one of those cases involved Oscar Antonio Ortiz, a Border Patrol agent in the San Diego area, who first applied for work in the weeks after the terror attacks of September 11, 2001. Like Mr. de la Garza worked at the port of entry in Douglas, Arizona, about 120 miles southeast of Tucson. He lived with his wife. He was born in Matamoros, Mexico, and lived for most of his childhood in Mexico with his mother, moving to the South Texas city of Brownsville as a teenager. In 2000, the authorities appeared to first learn that Mr. de la Garza was actually a Mexican citizen around the time he applied for a United States passport in 2017. Mr. de la Garza wrote in a letter he submitted to Judge Collins that he had believed in his youth that he was American. Growing up, my parents told me that I was a U.S. citizen, and my whole childhood I was led to believe this was true, he wrote. Because of that, both of his parents tried to discourage that idea, and when, as a teenager in Mexico, he asked for his birth certificate, he was told the truth. His mother, the birth certificate, which had been submitted to state offices in Texas, was fraudulent. Prosecutors said the midwife listed on the fraudulent Texas birth record was convicted in 1984 of conspiracy to make false statements on birth certificates, prosecutors said. Nonetheless, Mr. de la Garza used that birth certificate to claim American citizenship, including for his 5-year background check for Customs and Border Protection in October 2016 and on his passport application in October 2017. After Mr. de la Garza requested and received a copy of the fraudulent birth certificate from Texas authorities, he wrote in his letter to the court, he believed that his parents had told him he was really born in Mexico in an attempt to deceive him and keep him from joining the military, he wrote in the letter. I should have pushed my parents more for information instead of dismissing it, he wrote. I served my country. I hope my combined 10 years of U.S. government service without fail and with the utmost pride allow for your honor to have clemency on what can be the rest of my family's lives and livelihood, he wrote. Citing his lack of any criminal history, federal probation officials recommended to the court that he serve 1 year of probation with no prison time, and his lawyer, Matthew H. Green, agreed. While clearly misplaced, Mr. De La Garza was motivated to commit this crime out of his desire to protect the United States and remain with his family, Mr. Green said in a written filing to the judge, adding, Mr. De La Garza and his family ask only one thing from the United States, they ask for a second chance. Rebecca Zamansky contributed reporting.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.